I see your glass, old son. Tell me when. That's good. There you go. I see my glass good. Would you like a refresher ice cube in there?
They just speak some English.
Let me grab some more.
No, it's fine. You don't have it. All right. Who's next? Joshua?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Sometimes my ass hurts, so I might use one.
Josh, you want a wheelchair as well?
I'm good with that.
All right, cool. Chilling.
Joey's good with that shit like that. So I mean,
Joe, you want a broomstick or something?
listen, Travis. Listen, Joe, it's a setup. I gotta go for it. Listen, don't take it personal. Hey, you know we can. You're shorter than me. Oh my God. We can go with a rake.
Yeah, so much better.
Oh, this way they. We can go with.
Make sure you get me in the
pipe.
video.
Yeah.
Get me in the video.
This is Uncle Milton.
Yeah, it's Uncle Milton.
So
Be careful.
I was gonna say some things, but I'm not gonna say some things.
Just for the record, man, so say whatever you can live with.
Oh, I can live with these things, but I'll say these off video. I'll see you later. Cohiba. Yes, sir.
Drink up. Let's see if you're moving.
Peace. There you go.
There you go.
Greg, you tried this shit?
Very good. I already got you right up your nose, man. That works good. Who's that? Huh? Pretty scary.
Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and they were in his shop, and he was showing them a bunch of like flathead motors and stuff.
Oh,
He had,
yeah.
had, like different. And they had on a stand, like test stands. He could fire them right up and stuff. And they walked over to some of those old slingshot dragsters, right? And they were talking about them, and they were talking about Swamp Rat 8. It was the first one. He put the 426 in. The others had 392s in them. And then they came out with the 426, and Chrysler got pissed off at him. He's sitting there telling the story. He's like, Chrysler got mad at me because I wasn't running it very much because it wasn't winning. And he was like, now, he goes, we figured out he was like, I couldn't win with it. I was winning with the 392. He goes, we were running the 392. We weren't running the 426 as much. And he was like, I needed something that was, he was like, we're running 3, 4, 5 times a week. He goes, I needed something in traveling. He's like, I need something reliable. I didn't need something that was going to blow up, you know. And he was like, on the 392s, if you put a timing lead on a spark lead on them, you'd blow them up.
Oh yeah.
He goes, now later we figured out that the spark lead on a Hemi was the key to getting the power out of it. He goes, so I'm running this 426 Hemi, and I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing that great. He goes, I'm at this one race, and this guy walks up to me and says, I want to throw $500 on this race, all right, and this 45 caliber service pistol. And he was like, and I want you to run full out. He goes, I know you've been sandbagging. I know you've been pulling out. You've been running soft because you're running at Rockwell tomorrow, and you're trying to save your motor for Rockwell. He was like, and you're not running full out right now. And he's like, no, dude, I'm really running all out. He goes, no. He was like, you know what, get out of here. Don't ever come back here again. You know, it's a big old thing, right? He goes, so the next day we're at Rockwell, and we're running, and he goes, I finally just got pissed off with this damn thing. And he goes, you know what? Because he was like, he never put a spark lead in it because he knew he was going to blow it up. And he was like, you know what? Screw this engine. Let's blow it up. I'm tired of people talking shit. He goes, let's run something with this damn thing. Chrysler's pissed off because they want us to run this thing.
Yeah.
We're not winning races. He's like, we're trying to save it. Screw this shit. And he said he knocked it up to like 32 degrees.
Fuck! Are you shitting? 32 degrees!
32 degrees. And he said he ran 213 miles an hour at like 6.7 seconds or something like that, right? And he was like, they pulled it back into the pits, they dropped the pan, they were expecting to see like coolant water coming out, right? Because if you did that with 392, that's what you got. You blew it up. It was good for one pass. That was it. And he said, everything looked good. We pulled the bearings, they all looked good. He goes, well, screw this shit. He's sitting there talking to me. He's like, well, screw this. He said, I took my wrench, I opened it up, and just turned that magneto, tightened it up, and went for a pass. Didn't even check to see what it was. He said, turns out it was 52 degrees is what it was running.
Oh my gosh.
And he said he ran even faster. He ran like a 226 miles an hour, or 219 miles an hour, and like he
Did you break out of sixes and into the fives?
no, he was running sixes, like low sixes. Your fuel and air ratio, your fuel and air mixture in it, and then the spark. You're filming me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Then go ahead, Brian.
So
Go ahead and
spark
explain it to
happens.
me.
When the spark happens, right, it explodes it and forces it down. That's what creates the power of the motor. So when you're talking about degrees of advance, you're talking about how soon or after that top dead center that the explosion happens.
It ignites.
That ignites. And so when you're talking about an advance, you're talking about an advance means before top dead center. So most cars are running anywhere from like 4 to 10 degrees advance, right?
That's all.
And those are high performance cars.
So on a high performance, that's, most cars of that era are running stock 4 to 6 degrees advance on a stock car. If you're wanting to run a little bit more performance, you're running like 10 or 12 degrees. So when they talk about a spark lead, he was running 32 degrees of advance.
So what was
And
the
so
stress
the
on
degrees is marked off of the harmonic balancer, okay? And so on the harmonic balancer, there's a mark, and there's a
Yeah.
timing. There's a tab on the timing on the block attached to it somewhere, usually on like the timing cover.
Yes.
And then there's a mark on the harmonic balancer, and you line those marks up to reach top dead center. That's how you time a motor. You line those marks up, and number one cylinder is at top dead center. And so that way you know where everything's at, and you can align it and get
So
everything
why was he
working.
expecting that he was going to damage this engine and it didn't get
Because
damaged?
he was running the 392 Hemis. okay?
And they would be
And
damaged.
if you ran that much advance in them, you'd blow them up. So what happens is
Because the
you get
explosion was happening at a bad time.
Before.
it happens if you run too much advance in a motor that can't handle it. It creates such a hot spark that the explosion is so much more violent and hot that the heat will
Expand the
it
cylinder.
expand the cylinders. You can.
This is
crack
why they
cylinders.
expected a head gasket to
You
blow.
can blow holes in cylinders and stuff like that.
That's why when they took
You
the
can
oil
break-
pan off, they expected to see
they
water.
expected this thing to be just destroyed. They
Gotcha.
expected the block to be destroyed. They expect the whole motor to be junk, and it didn't. So they ramped it up, and then they found out that. And so when he adjusted the magneto, he's telling the story. He was like, I just loosened it, I turned it, and we went back out for another pass. I didn't even check what the degrees was. And it turns out he was
You could
running
do that
like
with those engines.
54 degrees of advance is what they checked it later. And then they figured out later that those Hemis like 52 degrees of advance when they're running in like a race mode. Now, this is a quarter mile at a time. We're not talking about a car that you drive on the street. But we're talking about
We're not talking about a trip to Dallas. We're just talking about
No.
that.
right. We're talking about a quarter mile trip down the track, and then you're shutting it down, and then tearing the motor apart to check it for,
Then putting it back together.
and then putting it back together before the next race.
Wow.
And he was talking about how he could tell when he was pushing one right to its limit that the exhaust valves were starting to get a little bit tight. And he's like, then he knew he couldn't push it anymore. And
Yeah.
it was
Well,
done.
what we used to do in high school was we didn't like the way the car sounded. I carried a timing wrench. And I just pull over and shut off the motor and go over and adjust the distributor until I kind of got a feel for it.
Yep.
And I'd
Well-
jump back in the car and take off like, whoa, that's
Well,
better.
Milton, a lot of people back in the day, they didn't have their timing lights or all that crap in their car.
I never
They would
used a
sit there
timing
and
light in my life.
And they'd have to, and what they would do is they'd turn the car on and they'd start just turning things until it sounded right, and they'd tighten things
That
down.
was me.
If you do it
I've got a
on
buddy of
sound,
mine-
if you did it on sound, you could get a car tuned up pretty damn good.
Oh,
on sound.
I know I've heard of some guys that could time a motor by ear,
I know. I knew a
and
bunch
then
of them.
could tell you what degrees of advance that
Exactly.
motor was timed
Exactly.
at, and you could
Tom,
double check it with a
Tom,
common line.
you'd do it
and
with a
spot.
wrench, wouldn't you, Tom?
Well, that's part of
They
the
were
thing.
accurate within half a degree.
Isn't that part
I
of
knew
the thing?
guys that would take a wrench
You don't need a wrench.
and put it on the motor and sit there and
You don't
listen
need a
to it. And tell, I knew a guy in the Army at Fort Dix, New Jersey. He could pull up into the motor pool, and he could tell you what cylinder was not firing.
What cylinder was not firing? That's pretty rich, man.
No, I'm serious. He could. He was that good. He could listen to it, listen to the engine run. If one cylinder was not firing,
See, when I was in high school, I
He
thought I
would
was
tell you
doing good when I could tell you what kind of engine it was.
I can put my hand on a valve cover
That was
and
as
tell
far
you
as I
what
went.
cylinder you're firing.
oh, well, a lot of guys can do that. But he could do it without touching it. He could sit there and listen, and he'd hear the engine run. Hear that engine.
The Marines, I've been saving my armpits. I won't stop you, just steer clear of burrito bread.
Don't play with this, please. Embrace this.
No, I'm
Listen, son, if you want to get involved with blood farts, I won't stop you, just steer clear of survivor's guilt. Listen, son, if you want to get involved with having a penis, I won't stop you, just steer clear of white power.
Whoa!
Reverse cowgirl and thank you very much.
That is awesome. That's great.
That was fucking good. That was fucking
All right, my turn.
Then we're gonna start.
I gotta win one, and then we can go. During high school, I never really fit in until I found Blank Club. Know your audience. During high school, I never really fit in until I found Blank Club. Already, I love it. Okay, so during high school, I never fit in until I found Gay Aliens Club.
This would have been perfect.
That would have
for this guy's
During high school, I never really fit in until I found a black-owned and operated business club. During high school, I never really fit in until I found a cat video so cute that your eyes roll back and your spine slides out until your anus hits the floor. During high school, I never fit in until I found racial profiling club. During high school, I never really fit in until I found graphic violence, adult language, and some sexual content club. What was that in school? I mean,
That was your card.
I like this one, but the funniest one, honestly, is, Joey's Club was Gay Aliens Club. I don't know charity is.
So we're going to 5 cards.
Until I joined Cock Club.
I got one I pulled. I got it.
I would have played that one.